There's a kind of strength that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't perform resilience for an audience. It just exists, quietly, in people who've learned that survival isn't about never breaking. It's about knowing how to put yourself back together when you do. If you've been through hell and somehow kept going, you might have these traits without even realizing it. Because emotional strength isn't loud. It's the quiet endurance of showing up, even when no one's watching. The people who are emotionally unstoppable aren't fearless. They're just no longer controlled by fear. And that shift, that internal transformation, comes with traits most people overlook. 1. You've learned to sit with discomfort. Most people run from pain. You've learned to stay. Not because you enjoy suffering, but because you've realized that avoiding emotions only makes them stronger. You let yourself feel without needing to fix it immediately. And that ability to hold discomfort without collapsing is what makes you unbreakable. 2. You don't need external validation. You've stopped looking for permission to be who you are. You've stopped waiting for applause to know you're doing well. Somewhere along the way, you learned that your worth doesn't depend on being seen. And that internal validation is what makes you unstoppable, because no one can take from you what you no longer need from them. 3. You've made peace with impermanence. You've lost things, people, opportunities, versions of yourself. And instead of clinging, you learned to let go. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you understand that nothing stays. And that acceptance gives you a freedom most people never find. You're not afraid of endings anymore. You know they're just transitions. 4. You've stopped performing strength. You cry when you need to. You ask for help. You admit when you're struggling. And somehow, that vulnerability makes you stronger. Because real strength isn't pretending you're fine. It's being honest when you're not. And knowing that honesty doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. 5. You trust yourself now. You've survived every worst-case scenario you thought would break you. And that track record taught you something profound. You can handle more than you think. So you stop doubting yourself. You stop second-guessing every decision. You trust that even if you fail, you'll figure it out. And that self-trust is the foundation of emotional resilience. 6. You've learned that healing isn't linear. You don't expect yourself to be perfect. You know there will be bad days. Days where old wounds resurface. Days where you feel like you're back at square one. But you also know that one bad day doesn't erase your progress. You've learned to be patient with yourself. And that patience is what keeps you moving forward, even when the path isn't straight. These traits aren't things you're born with. They're things you earn through pain, through loss, through the relentless process of showing up for yourself when no one else did. So if you recognize yourself in these traits, know this: you're not just surviving, you're becoming emotionally unstoppable. Not because nothing affects you, but because you've learned that being affected doesn't mean being destroyed. And that's the difference. Strength isn't about being untouchable. It's about being unbreakable. Even when you bend, even when you break, you always find a way back to yourself.